Welcome to a new video in my home automation channel, and today I'm going to review this radiator actuator or radiator valve that I've received from Banggood free of charge for this review video. So this is a Moes, not sure how to pronounce it. So it's a Zigbee radiator actuator and the actual type is HY368. And as you can see, this is a type of valve that you are supposed to screw into the valve that normally has the manual knob, and that would be able to control your radiator. Open it up, close it down, depending on the temperature and the various modes selected. And this unit is a Zigbee unit, so when you are purchasing this unit, you can purchase just the unit itself, but you can also purchase a Zigbee gateway. And even though I do have a Zigbee gateway, I wasn't sure if this actually is going to work with other Zigbee gateways as well. But if I open this box, you are going to see that this Zigbee gateway is still in the box because I have a Blitzwolf Zigbee gateway that I'm already using for Tuya. So definitely this unit can use other Zigbee gateways as well. So if you already have Zigbee at home, you can save some money on the installation just by ordering the radiator valve, and well, you can just skip the Zigbee gateway because other Zigbee gateway appears to work just as fine as the Moes Zigbee gateway. Before I go into the details, let me just explain what you are getting. So you are getting this Zigbee thermostat, which is battery operated. So if I unscrew the top, you can see that it is operated by two AA batteries. And then on the other side, there is this screw mount, or well, basically this mount which goes onto the radiator. And when I do the unboxing, we are going to see that there are a few different adapters here. So this is going to be suitable for a couple of different radiator types. And yeah, to be honest, I have underfloor and ceiling heating in my house. I have one single radiator in the garage, but to be honest, I think we are just going to test it like this, but I'm going to show you how it screws onto the radiator. This has a user interface, so if I swipe and I touch, then you can see that it has some, well, very faint LEDs behind this cover. I mean, there is a lot of light here, the sun is out, but it is actually perfectly readable, so I don't have any issues with the screen itself. And of course, via the Zigbee gateway, it is going to connect to the Tuya app. So you would be able to control this device from the Tuya app, but you can use the screen and the buttons as well to do all the configuration. I already talked about the various modes. I just want to mention again that you have several different modes to choose. You always have the manual mode where you can always set the set temperature. So that's the desired temperature in the room. In the auto mode, you have various ways to configure what the temperature should be during the day or during the night, and you have, you know, various options for weekdays and then weekends, and also I think up to 6 set temperatures on each of these days. And the other modes, well, the other special mode is basically the boost mode, where it's going to set the temperature to 30 degrees and then it automatically go back from the boost mode to the, you know, whatever mode that you had previously. So that's like, you know, the room is really cold, so you just want to heat it up quickly, and after that it should return back to the set temperature. And the other modes, such as the eco mode or holiday mode, they all just set a fixed temperature. And also there is a possibility to lock the screen here. So if you don't want your kids to control the temperature, you can just lock it and you can only control it from your phone. And if the temperature suddenly drops by a certain value, it's going to detect that the window is open, so you can configure it to close the valve. So, you know, if you open the window, it's going to shut down your radiators. And of course, because it connects to your mobile app, you would be able to monitor it from your phone, and you set up various automations. And as I said in the beginning, this is a Zigbee device. So if you don't have any Zigbee devices, I would suggest that you buy the Zigbee hub, which you can buy in the bundle. If you do have Zigbee hubs, then you can decide just to buy the radiator models. And within the bundle, you can already purchase, you know, just units or multiple, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units with the Zigbee hub or without the Zigbee hub. So these units are battery operated. They are going to talk to the Zigbee bridge. The Zigbee bridge is going to be connected to your Wi-Fi, and that's how it's going to relay the information to the cloud. And of course, once you have done the programming of the device, you set the mode, and if you are auto mode, you can set various times and temperatures when the unit should, make, I don't know, 20 degrees in the room or 15 degrees in the room. And once you have done all these settings, you can just leave this device and that's going to operate on its own. And in fact, for a normal operation and, opening and closing the valves, it doesn't require internet connection. So if your internet goes down, it's still going to keep the settings and it would, remember to open and close your radiator valve. So let me tell you what you are getting if you are ordering this product. So first of all, there is a smaller box for the Zigbee bridge, and the Zigbee bridge itself is this really small unit, and you are getting a micro USB to USB lead just to power it. You are not getting a USB power adapter, so you have to supply your own power brick for that. And this is just uses 5 volt 1 amp, so any old phone charger that you have lying around is going to be good for that. So you need to configure this one first, and then the radiator valve will be able to connect to this one. You're also getting a small user manual for the Zigbee bridge, but that's pretty much it. And on the bigger box you are getting the radiator actuator, which is, well, this unit obviously doesn't come with batteries, so you need to provide your 2 AA batteries, and they are also getting a couple of different adapters. So if your radiator valve has a different screw mount, well, these are the various options that you can use. And of course this comes with this, I think it's called the M30, yeah, it says here, M30 times 1.5 millimeters. So that's the default thread size that is on the unit, and of course you can just unclip it and use one of the other supplied replacements if you have different radiator valves. But actually this is something that worked for me, so I haven't touched that. And let me also talk about the main user interface. So on the top you just have a vent hole. So this looks like the Wi-Fi icon, but I think this is actually the vent hole for the temperature sensor, which is just under this cover. And on the main body you have this home icon, which is effectively a touch screen, and when you touch it you have this user interface. So at the moment it was showing that it's sensing 26 degrees, I think 26.5, and you see the Wi-Fi icon, and you have the plus and the minus icon here. So you can, as you can see, I'm changing the set temperature, so it says set and 6, and you can change it in half a degree increment. And also on the main screen you have this Wi-Fi icon, which is going to tell you that it's connected to the Zigbee network. You have this icon here, which is the mode. So this sort of like circle, that's the auto mode. And when you change between the modes, then for example the holiday mode has a plain icon, the manual mode has so they all have a different icon. And number 4 here means that it's the 4th schedule for this day, and once we go into the day schedules we are going to see what those are. And yeah, so that's the main control that you have, and of course, as I mentioned here, the plus and the minus button, and that's how you can change the set temperature. And even if you don't connect to the Zigbee network, it's going to work like a digital thermostat, so you would be able to control it. Of course, by default it will come to the manual mode, and you can just use the plus and the minus button to set the set temperature. Of course, you have to press this one, the home button first. And the actual actuator is this small pin here, and that's being actuated by a small motor. So you can, it's really, really quiet, and then you can hear that this one go, and you can notice this one going in and out. It is really, really slow, but I guess, it doesn't have to be fast. And by the way, let me just hold this up so you can see the screen and the various icons here. It's a little bit more easy to read on the paper than on the real screen. I think in life it looks a little bit better. On the camera it's a little bit faint just because of the backlight and everything. And it shows centigrade at the moment, but actually I can see that in the manual that it is able to display Fahrenheit, but in the manual it doesn't say how you can switch between centigrade and Celsius and Fahrenheit settings. So that's the main user interface, and there is a fairly detailed user guide how you can make the various settings on this device. But what I have noticed that most of these settings are also available in the app. So I think since it comes with, or well, probably you should be ordering a Zigbee bridge, or if you don't have your own. So once you have it linked to your Zigbee bridge, you should be able to connect it to your mobile phone. And I think it is much easier to make all these changes on the phone than trying to dick around with this screen, because honestly, I mean, it works fine, but it's not you don't have a tactile feedback. So, checking the temperature and maybe, changing the set temperature once in a while, it's fine. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time trying to, set your weekly and, your daily set temperatures and your graphs and everything on this one, because it's just too small. I don't want to spend too much time talking about how you set this unit up in the app, because on the second page of the manual it all talks about how you set up the Zigbee bridge to your app and how to add the radiator valve to the Zigbee bridge as well. So setting up the Zigbee bridge is very straightforward. It's just like any Wi-Fi device. You plug it in and then your status LED is going to flash, and you just click on add new device and follow the on-screen instructions. And once you have the Zigbee gateway up and running, that on the Zigbee gateway page within the app, you can also click on a button which says, I want to link a new device or add a new device. And then it's going to search for this actuator valve. And getting this into pairing mode, I find a little bit more complicated. Actually, it is also described here, but the way it happens is that you have to press on this home button for a longer period of time. And then when you hold it for a couple of seconds, then it goes into this setting mode, and then you click on the plus button until you get to page, I think it's called the page 5, and then you press the home button short, and then you press it for a long time, and then you will see that the Wi-Fi icon, which is appearing right next to it, this one, it's going to start flashing, and that's when it goes into pairing. Okay, so obviously I've already done the pairing, and so I'm not using this Zigbee gateway, I'm using my Blitzwolf one, but this Zigbee gateway is going to look exactly the same. And as you can see, I have paired this unit with it already, and it shows up as a thermostat with an icon, so it says Zigbee Smart. And I have this device also here. So when I go in here, I can see, a couple of details. On the top, I can see what mode it is in. So it is in manual mode at the moment. What is the set temperature? So it was in auto mode, but because I started messing around with the temperature settings here, it has automatically gone to manual mode. So the set temperature on the unit is 7 degrees at the moment. That's because I was, pushing the plus and the minus just a couple of minutes ago. Or you can also change it here. And you can see that the current temperature is 26.5. And the 0% is actually the position of this pin, which is actuating the radiator valve. So when I push it all the way to 30 degrees, let me just do it like that. Then it will start opening up. There is a little bit of a delay, and then probably after a couple of seconds we can hear the motor running. Not yet, but so, and then this percentage is going to go up slightly. I think it also proportional, so maybe it's just going to open up 20% or 15%. So this is the main user interface, and you have a couple of options down on the bottom. You can select the different modes. So as I said, you have the holiday mode, where you can set a fixed temperature. You have the auto mode, where it is using the various preset temperatures. You have the manual mode, well, it's obviously manual, and then you have the comfort and eco mode. Again, they come with a certain temperature values, and then the boost mode, which opens the valve fully, and then it also has a countdown. So, it's going to run your radiator really hot for like 3 hours, and then it's going to go back to the previous set temperature. So this is what you can do here. And the other button is the settings. So let's just not go there yet. Let's look at the device settings as well. So this is the pencil icon on the top right. And here you can see, a couple of information about, I can change the icon and the name of the device, change which room it is in. You can see it supports a couple of third-party voice automation services or voice services, so Alexa and Google Assistant. You can also get notification if the device goes offline. You can also share this device. So if you have other Tuya users within your family, and you can also create them into groups. So if you have multiple radiators in a room, you can group the actuators into a group, and then you can control them together. So let's go into the settings, where you can see how this unit is used. So if I click on the set button, this is what you see. So you have the key lock. So if you enable that, you won't be able to make any changes here on the device itself. You also have a specific setting here for the valve. You normally leave it on normally work, but you can also do forced open or forced closed. I'm not sure why we would need that, because if you just put it to manual mode and to a certain temperature, most probably it's going to either close or open anyway. If you feel that the temperature reading is off, you can also do a temperature calibration here. So that basically just adds or subtracts a fixed value from whatever temperature which is measured by the device. For some reason, the rest of the settings that you see on the screen ask you for a key code, and as you can see, the password is 123456, and you have to type it every time you want to access any of these settings, and I couldn't find any way of getting rid of that. So I'm not going to click on all of these because I have to enter the password every time. So there is a max and a minimum temperature that basically sets what is the max and the minimum temperature that you can set here. You also have this window parameter. So let me just enter the password. Yep. So you can set what is the temperature delta or the temperature drop this device should consider as a window opening. So of course your radiators are usually under the window, so if somebody opens the window and the cold air comes in, most probably that's going to be picked up by this radiator thermostat quite quickly. And so you can set it here what time the radiator should be off. So let's say if the temperature drops by 5 degrees, then it's automatically shut off your radiator for 10 minutes, and then it's going to open it back up. It doesn't really say anywhere in the manual in what interval this 5-minute counts, so I'm not really sure about that. You have the boost time as well. So as I said, if you select the boost mode, then your radiator valve is going to open up fully, and you can specify how many seconds it should return back to the normal mode. So again, if your room is really cold, you can just quickly heat it up. Well, that's the quickest way that you can heat up. And then, as I said, the comfort and the eco are just set temperatures that the device automatically goes to. And finally, we have two settings for the auto mode. So you can specify whether your auto mode is going to work in this 5+2, 6+1, or 7 mode. So that means that you have a temperature curve for weekdays and then a different one for weekends. And weekdays is 5 days and weekends is 2 days. Or, you know, weekdays is 6 days and weekend is 1 day, or 7 is all the days are going to be the same. And then the weekly programming is actually here. So that's the last settings on the screen. So you can set the temperature values for your working day settings. So you always have 6 periods. And for each of the period, you can set the time and the temperature. So basically at 6 o'clock, it's going to turn up the heating to 20 degrees. At 8 o'clock, it's going to take it back to 15 degrees. And then it's going to be 15 degrees all the way to 7:30. And if you remember a couple of minutes ago, I said this value, number 4, it's that we are in period 4, because at the moment it's 2:12, and that's basically after 12:30 and before 5:30. So we are in period 4. And then you have the same settings for the weekend as well. And with this, we reached the end of the settings, and I couldn't find a way to change the Celsius reading to Fahrenheit here in the app nor in the documentation. So it looks like that the device should be able to support Fahrenheit, because we have seen on the screenshot that it has basically an icon on the screen for the Fahrenheit, or like a small blip behind the centigrade icon or the C. But I wasn't able to find any settings how to change that. And as you can see, everything else on the screen just works in Celsius, so not in Fahrenheit. So unfortunately, I don't think that it can be used for US users. So these are the features that you are getting in the app and also on the main user interface. And actually, the last thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to see how you can use the automation with this device, because that also tells you a couple of things how you can automate this. So first of all, let's see what are the device statuses that we can trigger on. And if I select the device, as you can see, we have quite a few of them. So we can trigger on battery status, which is actually a good one. So you can select if the battery status is low, then maybe you can create a notification message center, so it's going to send you a notification when it's time to replace the battery on this device. So this can be one automation that I think you should be setting up for each of these radiator valves. So let me just not finish that, let me just go back to the beginning. So that was the first one, the battery status. The next one is the window status. Again, you can do something about that. So if it detects that the window is open, it's already going to shut down the radiator, but maybe you can do something else. Open a light, send a notification message, something like that. The valve status, you can also set something here, what should happen if the valve position is above a certain value, so let's say over 50%. You can also set up a trigger if the mode is getting changed, or if the current temperature goes above or below a certain value. So you can use this device as a thermostat as well. And then maybe if the temperature is too low, then it can send you an additional setting. So maybe you are away and you set the thermostat to keep, 5 degrees or like 10 degrees in your home. And if it drops below 5 degrees, then well, something is definitely wrong. So, or maybe your furnace is down. So even though the valve is fully open, it can't heat your room. So this could be a good fallback option if something goes wrong with your heating and you are away. So these are the different ways how you can trigger. And then let's see what we can do with the device. So in the action side, so I just selected the, the start condition to tap to run. And then now on the action side, so I select run device, and again I select this Zigbee Smart. So these are the things that we can tell this unit to do. So first of all, we can set it to a certain temperature. That's fine. So you can use automation to set a certain temperature. So what you can do, for example, you can leave it in manual mode, and then when you come home, you set up an automation that it automatically sets the temperature. Or maybe your automation is set up as a tap to run, just the way as I did now. But when you tap it, you automatically set the set temperature on each of your thermostats. So you know that you are going to leave work in half an hour. So you trigger this automation, then that's going to automatically set all your radiator valves at home to a certain temperature. So by the time you get home, it's going to be nice and warm. And it's not going to depend on time, but it's going to depend on when you actually trigger it. So that's one thing you can do. You can obviously change the mode as well. And again, I think it's going to be quite useful. So if you will have multiple of these devices, I mean, of course you can group them together, but probably what you can do is you can set up an automation just like this, a tap to run automation, and then select all your devices and set all of them to, let's say, holiday mode or auto mode. So with one single click, you can set all your devices at once. And then finally, you can also do the key lock-in automation as well. So as you can see, there are quite a lot of options available both in the trigger and in the action side as well. So you can nicely combine this unit with other Tuya devices that you have at home. And this concludes my review of the Moes radiator thermostat. If you like this product, there is going to be purchasing links in the video description. But that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.